Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostle of Millstone, and then out respect to the brothers that they're pushing and spreading the gospel of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai to the foes of the world. Now, through the spirit of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, I wanted to do a quick lesson in the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, and Lord willing, this be edifying. This is straightforward, right? And seeing as how we are very close to the end days, right? The final chapter of this current world history. You know, it's always best to refresh our memory so that we anticipate the coming of Yahushai with great joy, right? You always want that running through your mind, the most important event that a righteous man looks forward to. It's always the appearance of Yahushai. In fact, the book of Psalms, the 80th chapter, I always bring this up. The book of Psalms, chapter 80, verse 14, it says, "Return, we beseech thee, O God of hosts, look down from heaven and behold and visit this vine," the vine representing the nation of Israel, "and the vineyard which thy right hand hath planted, and the branch that thou madest strong for thyself. It is burned with fire, it is cut down, they perish at the rebuke of thy countenance." In other words, the captivity that we're going through is harsh, right? This is prophecy, because at the time of this, at the time at which this was written, Israel was actually on top. We actually had an empire, right, underneath King David and under King Solomon. So, but in prophecy-wise, we were going to fall off just like even Moses anticipated, and that we were going to be sold into captivity, and then we were going to be made prey for our enemies. So, this is true for our scenario, for our situation right now. So, the vine is burnt and it is cut down. In other words, our situation is harsh. We are of low stature. We are at a point where it seems as though our nation will never recover from the trauma that the Lord has brought on us, right? Because we are going through what we went through because of our iniquity. And in fact, even at a time where the Lord has begun to deliver us, He will only deliver a remnant of the nation of Israel, and those who for a long time has suffered underneath the violence of these other nations, they have yet more violence to even suffer. That's why the scriptures calls it the time of Jacob's trouble. So through all this, right, Psalms 8, chapter 80, verse 17 says, "Let thine hand be upon the man of thy right hand, and upon the son of man whom thou didst make strong for thyself," whom thou madest strong for thyself. So when we are in this captivity, our number one, anticipation, the very thing that we look forward to with all our heart and with all our mind, is the revealing of Yahushai. Just as how we looked for him, right, 2,000 years ago, and we anticipated his coming, we do so now, right? For, we were not disappointed 2,000 years ago when he was on the scene, and we damn sure ain't going to be disappointed when he appears yet again. So it says here, "Let thine hand be upon the man on thy right hand, upon the son of man whom thou madest strong for thyself. So will not we go back from thee. Quicken us, and we will call upon thy name. Turn us again, O Lord, Yahweh, God of hosts, and cause thy face to shine, and we shall be saved." So the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, in the time of the end, it says, "And at that time," Daniel 12:1, "and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time, And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that is found written in the book. Okay, so our deliverance, the reason, or the reason that Michael shall stand up for the nation of Israel, the remnant, let me put it that way, the remnant, was because of what Yahushua has done for us and is doing for us, right? Interceding on our behalf and being a high priest for us, ministering in a much more perfect tabernacle or temple in the heavenly realm. So it says, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. So this even is referenced in the book of Revelations, which shows you that all the prophets of the Lord, they all had one narrative. They spoke the same thing. In fact, when you even read Paul's writing in the book of Romans, the first chapter, it says, Paul, a servant of Yahushua Mashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. So here Paul's letting you know that he's in one accord, right, with the Scriptures. And so when you read the book of Revelations, the 20th chapter, it tells you the same thing that the book of Daniel, 12th chapter says. The book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 11, it says, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. In other words, it's gonna be a it's gonna be a great and terrible day, right? So let's see. Verse 12, and I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were open. And another book was open, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. So the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, is the same narrative, right? And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, because they shall be changed, right? And they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. So what does it mean to turn many to righteousness? It means the work that you put in, right, to establish righteousness upon the earth in the midst of wickedness, right? So this is this ministry. When you work, when you go out into the highways and the byways, when you're doing your videos, when you proclaim the name of the Lord in the sight of all these nations, you are doing it to the intent that you will turn many to righteousness, right? And this is the lot of a prophet. And so it says that they shall shine as the stars forever and ever. That's that glory and the immortality, right? That's why the revealing of Yahushua, that is that is like the center of your life, man. That is all you look up to. That's your aspiration. That's your goals. You got Jakes out here trying to, their goals is money. They're trying to make money. They're trying to get an LLC and a trucking company, a fitness center, or a whole bunch of just some dumb shit, and that's all they talk about. There's something wrong with it if that's the only thing in life that matters to you. That's all Jake want to be. They want to chase after the degrees. They want a record label. They want to be a rapper. They want fame. They want to be an athlete. Vanity. That's all they look forward to. But a man that thinks differently looks forward to the appearance of Yahushai, and he works so that when Yahushai appears, he will be found in great what? In he will be found, as a righteous person in the sight of Yahushai. You don't want to be awake to everlasting shame and contempt. You don't want to be the Jakes out there that are, confounded. You want to be the Jake that has received what? The glory. So verse 12 says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. For many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." And which is why the book of Daniel is much more important in this time than it was back then. Because back then, the most important parts of the scriptures was not revealed unto them. Yeah, they knew certain things here and there, but they didn't know as much as we know now. And they didn't see as much as we see now. We are living in times where we don't even have to anticipate prophecy. We see it happening around us. We just have to wait for it to escalate, right, to a climactic point. We see it happening all around us. That's why we are a lucky generation, man. If you are in this ministry and the Spirit is dealing with you, you are a privileged person. You are privileged, man. If you know the Lord, so it says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end." And that's showing you that we are living in a time of the end. The very fact that we understand the book of Daniel and we can break it down shows you, especially dealing with the final beast and the 7 heads and 10 horns. The many shall run to and fro, and it's this modernized, globalized world that we're living in, where people can just, it's not just that they can just fly from one side of the world in a matter to another side in a matter of hours, but it's also the fact that we're all connected, through these streaming services, these streaming platforms, and these social media apps. It has connected the entire world. So in every sense, the whole world is in reach. You can travel to another side of the world by simply going through the internet, and you can also do so by going there. So this is that time. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, and there stood other two, one on the side of the bank of the river, and on the other side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, "How long shall it be to the end of these wonders?" Okay, so he saw the angel standing on the banks of the river. He saw 2 angels, right, standing on either side of the bank of a river that he saw in his vision. And one of the angels said unto the other angel, which was on the other side of the river, "How long shall it be to the end of these wonders?" So he's letting you got to put a times table, when, right? We need a hint. And this is the hint, right? It says, "And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand into heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be accomplished." And the riddle for a time, times and a half. A time is considered a whole. Times, plural, is double a whole. So you would have 3. 1 plus 2, 3. And it says a half. And this is a prophetic time frame that has been given, even in the book of Revelations. It's been given very often, right? And so it's dealing with the amount of time that we were going to be in Babylon So let's read this here. Right? So the scattering or the shattering of the holy people, which is the nation of Israel. So when we were sent into Babylon, right? And even it says when he shall have accomplished the scatter. So in the days in which our captivity is brought to an end, right, we will be in a state where we are scattered amongst the world. And in that time, after a period of 350 or 3.5, or whenever you're dealing with prophetic time frames, especially with the book of Daniel, it goes in centuries. You got to count it in centuries. So this will be 350 since the time that we came into Babylon. 350 years after, that's when the spirit of life from God entered into us, and that's when America started going down. So it says, and I heard, but I understood not. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up, and seal it till the time of the end. So it wasn't meant for Daniel to understand, but it was meant for us to understand it. That's why these books that have been so long, that have gone so long untouched by men, is now being revealed in our times. Daniel 12:10, it says, Many shall be purified and made white and tried. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,305 days. But go thou thy way till the end, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot in the end of days. Now this goes into a different, event that happens, during the final destruction of Jerusalem. Okay, because when you break down these number of days, I believe you get let me see. 1,290 days. Right, if you divide it by 365, if you divide it by a year, so by 365 you'll get 3.5, and then you got to add the rest of the 1,000. Okay, 1,335 divided by 365, and then you get 3.6. So you got 3.5 plus 3.6, and you get 7. And that was that's why the siege in Jerusalem in 70 AD really began with 66, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then it was like a 7. My memory's a little foggy on that part, but I did a whole breakdown of the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter, and I don't want to derail the whole topic, but this is I'm trying to focus on Yahushai, right? So all this whole script, this whole narrative that we have been actors in, the main actor, Yahushai, is getting ready to be revealed. And when he's revealed, our life will forever be changed. Okay? So that is why this hope that we have, this faith, the scripture says we are to hold fast your crown, that no man take it from you, right? Let me see. The book of Revelation chapter 3 verse 11, it says, Behold, I come quickly. hold fast that which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Okay? Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from God, and I will write upon him my new name. Okay, so this is it, right? The parable. This is the parable. The crown that we have is the faith, and if we continue on in that faith, that crown would manifest, right? And we will be changed into that everlasting glory. So this is the book of Daniel, the 12th chapter. In closing, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash, Shalom Yahweh, Bahashem Yashar, Bakatham, Toya, Kim Senakos, that are listening in truth and in sincerity. May the blessing of blessing be upon our house. And until next time, Shalom.